Joining me today is Macomb County Clerk and Register of Deeds, Anthony Forlini. And yesterday, major news broke. I had teased a press conference early yesterday morning, and if you tuned in, you would hear them revealing that the 16th Judicial Circuit Court, the prospective juror pool, contained individuals on that list that were non-citizens. And one of the most fundamental requirements of serving on a jury in this United States of America is that you must be a U.S. citizen. You are innocent until proven guilty, and you have a right to a fair and speedy trial. And having an individual on that jury sit who is not a U.S. citizen has so many implications that could happen down the road. So it's not only important for election integrity, but it's also important if you stand trial. So join me as we have a casual conversation with the Macomb County Clerk, Anthony Forlini. And regardless of what side of the aisle someone is on, I appreciate when people hold office and really showcase their integrity and ethics. So today I have with me the clerk of the third largest county in Michigan, and that is Anthony Forlini. So thank you so much for joining me.
Hey, Kristen. Hey, by the way, we're the largest red county in the state. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. All right.
It wasn't always that way.
Yeah, well, I know it's pretty much one of the deciding factors in most of our elections due to the population there.
Right.
Well, I really want to gear this. We're only going to gather here for about 20 minutes. I know you're a busy guy and you are acting in the capacity of county clerk. So those are how I'll gear my questions. And the one thing, I am very aware of the news that broke yesterday, but could you very much summarize, and correct me if I'm wrong, but basically in doing some research and realizing that there was a lot of people really opting out of jury duty, is that what led you down the road to kind of look into how are so many people who are not qualified to sit on a jury being invited to do jury duty? Because those of you that are watching, what Clerk Forlini actually identified was that non-citizens are being called to jury duty. And my understanding is that 3 have actually voted in our Michigan elections.
It's correct. So I'll tell you where this started. I've won national awards for various things. One is operational efficiency. Only one in the state to have won that, only one in the country to have actually won 2 awards. But so I look at operational efficiency, what we do on a day-to-day basis, and it was concerning to me that we had so many people, such a high percentage that were calling off or legitimately getting off of jury duty or not calling in at all. So I'm trying to get to the bottom of it and try to find the reasons. And one of the biggest reasons was non-citizenship. I go, what do you mean? And they said, well, they present us their green card and they can get off of jury duty. So they're citizens of the county, right? But they're not U.S. citizens, and they cannot vote, nor can they serve on a jury duty, do jury duty. So I says, do me a favor, give me these numbers. I want to see these numbers. How many have we had? We changed our software over back in September. I says, let's go back to September. Let's look at that. 239 individuals presented a green card, got out of jury service by self-reporting. This is critical, self-reporting. We wouldn't have found them. We wouldn't have known. There may have been some that went through the system and served on a jury trial, didn't say anything. That's concerning, very concerning. This never should happen. These people never should have been on that list. But as I thought about it, I said, why are they even on the list? Why are they even coming to us? Well, it turns out, I thought about it a little bit more, and I says, you know what? I want to give me all these names. I want to place them up against the QVF, qualified voter file, and see if these people are actually there. And it turned out 14 people were on our qualified voter file that they could have voted. Nobody would have stopped them. As a matter of fact, 3 actually did vote. So of the 239 people, 5% of that list actually voted. Actually were on the QVF. Never should happen. And it's such a simple way for them to slip through the cracks. And that's why the Citizens Initiative really is probably gaining steam, because in order to register to vote, you put your name, check off that you're a U.S. citizen. Now, keep in mind, some of these people might have some language barriers, so I'm not going to say that they're doing this purposely, but yeah, I live in Clinton Township. I'm a citizen, right? That's maybe what they're thinking. They're not thinking in terms of the legalities and whatnot. They check off the box, and they look down further, and it says, there's another box that says, I don't have a driver's license. I don't have a Michigan ID. I don't have a social security number. Check this box. They check that box. Now they're in. Now they're registered to vote because there is nothing the state does to stop that person from getting on the voting rolls. This is unconscionable. There's absolutely needs to be something in place where there's a cross check. And as a matter of fact, I believe with what I understand, President Trump actually believes in this too, that there should be a national database of people so that in the Secretary of State's office, wherever they're taking this application, they can cross-check and look at the database, the U.S. database, to say, all right, is this person a citizen? Yes or no? Answer is no. You're not getting through. Nor are you going to serve on jury trial. That would take care of all the bureaucratic BS that we are getting in our office, and it would prevent people from doing something that is a felony, right? Doing something really bad. So the system is broken. The system. There might have been some well-intentioned people in when they started this whole thing, but the results have been horrific.
Well, my question is, when this broke yesterday, a lot of people on social media had said to me, I've known this. And of course, there's always theories and people always want like the concrete data. So my question to you is, it sounds like you've actually verified this information before you went public. But
Correct.
As far as your scope of findings, how widespread do you think this issue is? And do you think it's isolated to one county or is it broader statewide? And if you believe it is statewide, what would you like to say to your fellow clerks around the rest of the counties in Michigan?
I want to get a memo out today to everybody because they really need to do this. They need to do this cross check of data because all the clerks are just like me. They have jurors. They have a QVF. They need to pull every juror that elects out of the system of jurors. They need to put those people up against the QVF. I'm going to guess it's going to be widespread. This is not a Macomb County issue. I just happened to find it. And it was just a very unique way. I'm not sure that anybody's ever looked at it this way. In my office, it cracks up because I always got that look on my face like, what do you mean? How does this work? Give it to me a little bit more. And my head's churning in my other department saying, hang on, this is good information. Let's apply it over here and let's cross-check it. And since I've been in office, I've made multiple reforms in the areas of election integrity and have double-checked things and try to just button down elections as best I can. And this, to me, is one of the biggest finds because nobody ever thought of cross-checking these two databases. And as a result, I mean, you remember the controversy about the Chinese individual in Ann Arbor? That was such a big deal.
Yes, I do. Yes.
It's just a one-off. It's just a one-off. No, it's not. Look at what we have. We had 3. And by the way, one of these people voted multiple times, not just once, multiple times. So we have, I consider this a very serious problem. This is, by the way, these are people that self-reported.
Right.
How many people did not come to jury service? They looked at it and says, hey, I'm not a citizen. I can't serve. There's nothing they can do. I'm not coming in. I'm not reporting. I'm not doing anything, right? How many of those?
It's that old saying, you can't find what you're not looking for. You need to know what to look for. And I think we've really known that there's a problem with we should, Jocelyn Benson, our current Secretary of State, has said multiple times, and I'm paraphrasing, that, Michigan has had some of the most fair and safe elections. And although people have had theories on issues with previous elections, I think most people that are qualified to vote in the state of Michigan and across the country just want to ensure that the qualified people who are supposed to be voting in elections are doing so and nobody is slipping through the cracks because it really ruins the integrity of the whole process. And whether it's unintentional or not, what safeguards do you think we could put into place maybe at the state level that cascades down to the county level, that we're not, it sounds like it's a database issue. Am I right?
No, it's an application issue. It's
Okay.
at the point of application. The state of Michigan, listen, like I said before, you put your name, you check off a box that says you're a U.S. citizen. Maybe there's a misunderstanding, and you check off a box. You don't have a social security number. You don't have a driver's license. You don't have any of these things. Just check it off. You're in. That's got to stop. That has got to stop. And I'm not saying, listen, if you're a U.S. citizen, you should always have that ability to vote, always, and make it convenient for people to vote. But don't make it convenient for a non-citizen to vote. They made it convenient for people that are non-citizens to vote.
Well, you mentioned earlier that, just language barrier, interpretation of the question can kind of be confused by an individual, because I want to just clarify, and you've said it appropriately, it's non-citizens. And I think some people online are conflating that with undocumented individuals, but we have people here on visas.
Illegals, right?
Yes.
That's not what we're talking about here.
No, we have people that are in this country, but for certain reasons, work, visa, school. So I just want to clarify that. But with that potential language barrier or people not really being clear, I mean, I'm a U.S. citizen. I speak very fluent English, but even when I am filling out government forms as a veteran, because I'm scared of answering incorrectly, sometimes I have to ask someone, do you think a safeguard could be that we actually have someone in a role that is there to better explain these forms, or maybe make it to where these forms have to be filled out in front of another person? Or is that kind of a bigger animal and we don't really have the manpower?
Manpower is not an issue. When you're doing things wrong, it's wrong. And honestly, in the clerk's office, we answer 98% of all phone calls that people come in and they says, "Oh my God, I'm going to spend the whole day on the phone." No, you're not spending all day on the phone. What you're doing is you're answering it. You're answering the question. The people are on their way, not taking a voicemail, then calling them back. They got a voicemail. They call you back, and it's ridiculous. So there's protocols that you can put in place. There's methods that you can put in place to streamline the system. Checking a U.S. database for citizenship does not take forever. It's a couple of seconds. You get the information. You confirm that this person is a U.S. citizen. Maybe they come in with a U.S. passport and you check off that you saw their passport. Whatever the case is, there needs to be a check on the government's end of whether or not they are a U.S. citizen. That is, otherwise our elections are always going to be compromised. And let me tell you something. I get some grief from the right because I won't jump on board rhetoric that I am not 100% for sure. This stuff here that we're talking about is pretty serious. And when I bring something forward, a lot of people around here listen because I won't subscribe to anything other than things I know. I can tell you what happens in Macomb. I can't tell you what happens in other counties.
Well, I absolutely respect that because I think when people want to pull you in or discredit you because you're not willing to give a conversation legs that you have not witnessed yourself or seen yourself, I deal with that in my profession. Like if I'm not the one that sampled it, I'm not going to speak to it because of chain of custody issues. So, one of the things that's in the news I saw on social media actually today was that there's still people who don't have real IDs. And then you see the requirements just to fly. If I want to go from Grand Rapids to Chicago, you have to have the real ID or a passport. And it's like all these safeguards for travel and other issues. But to vote in an election, which I think is one of our strongest civil duties that everyone should do, is get out and vote, say what you feel. Get behind the people that you feel best serve you. I don't understand why it's such a controversial issue. And when we want to have these issues, the voter files cleaned up or having ID and verifications of being a qualified voter, somehow it's twisted that it's disparaging minorities or it's a political play. I don't view that. So what is your argument when it comes to this? Because I know it's a long-winded question, but.
Well, it's very sacred. The ballot is very sacred. Your ability to vote is very sacred, and we shouldn't belittle it. We shouldn't demean it by saying you don't need an ID when you go to vote. That's demeaning to everybody else that does present it. Now, if there's a situation where you didn't have it, I suppose, but that ballot should be held off to the side if that's the case. But if it's being held off to the side for you to produce a ballot at another or an ID at another point in time, Go get it. Go get it and do it. Present it now. We can't be having this anymore where we've diminished it, try to make it sound like, well, we want to be inclusive. You're being disingenuous to them and the people around them that did it the right way. You need an ID for just about anything. You think you're going to get on a plane without an ID? Any ID, let alone enhanced ID? They want to know who you are. And this is just the world we're living in, and it's at every level. To think that we're not going to hold it at that level at a precinct when you vote, nuts.
Yeah, and
Nuts.
I understand you were talking about your capacity as a clerk, but you had mentioned this is all about self-reporting. And if this is just in your county in Macomb, it could be happening elsewhere. And I'm wondering, because again, self-identifying, imagine how this would impact the jury integrity implications. And I want to know, not like legal advice, but how do you think this could potentially affect if it is identified that people have served on juries who were not qualified to do so?
Right.
What are the implications?
You know what? I'm not an attorney either, but I would think, I know the chief judge is very concerned here that
Okay.
potential exists. I don't know that any of us really realized it until I really started going into this issue, that people are self-reporting and we're getting them off the jurors, which is legitimate. But what about those people that don't want to admit it? Maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe they're not saying anything. Maybe they want to serve on a juror and they don't understand the implications. If I was an attorney, I might want to say, all right, let's go back. This case I lost. I wonder if there was a person I might suspect wasn't an American. Maybe, I don't know. It's far-reaching, and we cannot be sloppy. And I think that's what's happening right now at the state level. It's a very sloppy process. And is there anybody to blame? I don't want to blame anybody. I want to blame the process. The process is wrong. The process isn't right. It's eye-opening, and I wish I would have saw this 5 years ago. But right now I found it, and we came out with it, and I hope everybody at the state level takes it seriously. I hope the citizens of Michigan take it seriously, because this kind of stuff is what causes people to doubt. And my biggest thing since I've been in office is to remove doubt. There's plenty of people online that want to keep creating doubt because maybe there's money in that. I don't know. But we need to bring confidence back into everything that we do. And it starts with me. Come to work hard, get things done, look out for the interests of all citizens. And that's my job. And what I just presented here yesterday is my job. If I see a hole, I need to expose it. So, the media attention that we've gotten has been really a little overwhelming, but I knew it would be. Because this is a serious issue. And I'm glad people are taking it seriously. And I believe that changes will happen, and they need to happen.
Right. And you mentioned that you didn't want to place blame, but one thing I was going to ask you was the kind of the responsibility breakdown for, when you're working in a technical job, to convey it non-technically for the average layperson, who is really the responsible for verifying the citizenship status? And I think I'm more of a problem solutions based person. And I know that you're saying we need to take a finer look, but if you could, without getting into too much detail, what could be a lot of the solutions for these issues? Obviously, expanding in audits amongst the counties, but again, who really oversees all of this? And also, what are some corrective actions that are actually feasible?
Well, it's the application itself. I have a graphic. We can put it up maybe later. You can put it on later if you want. If you look at the application, you'll see it's too easy to get through the system. It's way too easy to get through the system. That's gotta end right there. I mean, we can blame people, but the process is wrong. The process is totally wrong. We need to correct the process. Otherwise, all of us are going to wonder, look at each other and say, should you really be voting or shouldn't you be? You know what? If the process was done right, we would know everybody in the system was properly in the system. So it's
And
process. We can blame
yes.
people, and I'm not that kind of a person. Honestly, it starts at the Secretary of State's office, but maybe I don't know this. Maybe it's the laws that are wrong that have to be corrected so that we can ensure every person is a citizen and they are who they say they are. And that's going to be, there's that citizen initiative out there right now. People are trying to get votes. Why are they doing it? Because they're upset. They're upset that, these kinds of things that I'm bringing up are real. And up until now, everyone thought, well, you know what, maybe they're over exaggerating it. Well, this is proof that that it's not exaggerated. It's a real thing, and it's a small sampling. Think about what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. It's a small sampling.
Well, in my
So
profession, I do audits all the time, and that's what I'll do. I'll grab 10 to 15% of a review, and if there's red flags, I'm going to be there longer and need more
yeah,
paper because then I have to dig deeper. So, well, thank you so much for giving me your time. I know that you have a busy day ahead of you, but I
yep,
just want to remind people that yes, the media covered this. There's large social media accounts, Scott Pressler. There's a lot of people working in election integrity that are trying to bring awareness to this. And I think that we just have to keep this story alive and don't let it die down because we have to strengthen the integrity of our elections. We have the right to be judged by a jury of our peers. This
absolutely.
all, it goes
Yep.
together. And I want to thank you so much because a lot of times people sitting in office are hesitant to kind of put polarizing information out there, but to do your job in an ethical and showcasing the integrity is the type of leadership we expect in the clerk position, especially in a county of your size. So I want to thank you for, uncomfortably coming public with this because really you're just doing your job, but it is much appreciated. And I appreciate your time. Where could people go to learn about more information if the story is, gets more legs and gets out there?
Well, this is a clerk function, and so if you come to the Macomb County Clerk Register of Deed website, we'll post the. I don't know if it's posted yet. I think it is. Our on our Facebook page, the Macomb County Clerk Register of Deeds on Facebook. They can see the press conference. They can see what we talked about. I wasn't particularly articulate in this, but I wanted to make sure I got the facts straight. So. But that's where they would find it on our website and on the county's website, as well as our official Facebook page.
Great. That's the one thing about the digital age is people can get information instantly and don't have to wait for the 10 o'clock news. So once again, thank you again. And remember, we the people should be deciding elections. And when you're talking about the constitutionality of things, it should never be controversial. So Clerk
Right.
Forlini, thank you so much. And I hope you have a blessed day.